Immigration is really a bunch of different issues that are kind of related, all wrapped into one. You have the border itself, you have undocumented immigrants, you have the so-called dreamers, you have issues around asylum seeking and refugees, issues around legal immigration.
Well, for one thing, the immigration thing, I'm a Christian woman. I believe we have to help others, but I don't know what to do about that.
Immigration is not something that most people experience in their daily lives. But if you ask them if it's important to them, 25% of Democrats and 87% of Republicans say that it's a very important issue to them. So really, whether or not they're feeling it in their daily life has little bearing now on whether or not they think it's an important issue or one that might impact their voting behavior.
It's also something that we've seen pop up in polling in places that are nowhere near the U.S.-Mexico border. Immigration is a major issue among voters in Iowa and New Hampshire, two early voting states that are thousands of miles away from the border with Mexico.
I believe the border is a big issue. We need to get that settled.
You see on TV, you see everybody flooding in through the borders, and it's just, I don't know how our economy can absorb all of that over time. So.
According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, about 300,000 migrants are arriving every month on the southern border. That puts us on track in 2023 for nearly 2 million arrivals, and that would be the largest number basically on record, since records are being kept.
Comprehensive immigration reform has been the goal of presidents going back decades. It's increasingly hard to see how that comes together.
The American people expect us to meet our responsibility and deliver immigration reform that fixes the problems in the current system.
So in 2013, Congress came really close to passing comprehensive border reform.
Despite the fact that the American people want the border secured, there appears to be a majority of this body that believe legalization must come first.
That sort of solution feels off the table now. The leading policy proposals from the Democrats and Republicans are world apart.
But Republicans need to actually work with us on realistic border policies.
The border needs to be a part of it if it's going to clear the Senate.
A lot of the Republicans will blame President Biden for any perceived weaknesses at the border, any perceived holes in the immigration system. A lot of the Republican candidates are going to blame both parties for a failure to act in a comprehensive way. A lot of them are going to turn their backs on Ronald Reagan, whose famous amnesty program in the 1980s may have laid the groundwork for the current situation that we see right now. And couldn't imagine a Republican Party further away from where Reagan was.
The administration and the allies of immigration reform on both sides of the Capitol and both sides of the aisle work together to accomplish these critically important reforms to control illegal immigration.
The wall itself is an item of considerable controversy inside the Democratic Party. President Biden campaigned against the wall. He said he would never build any more of it. Since then, he has changed his position.
The border wall, when money was appropriated for the border wall, I tried to get them to reappropriate, to redirect that money. They didn't, they wouldn't. And in the meantime, there's nothing under the law other than they have to use the money for what it was appropriated. I can't stop that.
The Department of Homeland Security moving toward what they're not quite calling a wall, but essentially is additional physical barriers at portions of the U.S.-Mexico border as they have dealt with an influx of people trying to come to the country under the most desperate situations possible.
According to Gallup data in 2023, 47% of Americans say that increased immigration, just writ large, makes crime worse, and 55% say it makes drug trafficking or just the drug problem worse. And I think that makes the conversation about immigration more negative. Again, harms progress, but just creates a division in American politics that I think we all feel and we can see.